So this is going to be the first video in a series of videos in regards to Data Street. In this first video, we're going to do a quick walkthrough of the mobile app, and we're also going to be creating a ticket. So I want you to look here at the bottom kind of navigation bar. What we're on currently right now is the home button. And by hitting the home icon, what you're going to be brought to is a list of your projects. So right now we only have one project in this phone that we've been assigned to. However, if you had 2, 3, 4, 5 projects, they would all be stacked underneath one another. They're going to be in order of the project number, and then they'll filter by name if need be. The second thing I want to kind of highlight here is on the bottom of this navigation bar, you have a profile logo on the bottom right. So at any point in time, if you're ever asked to identify which version of the app you're on, you can find that by selecting the head profile. You can also look up here of app version. Right now we're on 2.13.0. So I'm going to go back into my home page. And if we look at our project that we're working on right now, we're using training project. And if we're going to be creating a ticket, right now you have a details tab, you have an add tab, and you have an existing tickets tab. We've been asked to create a new ticket if we need to create that ticket that goes with the new scope of work. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and select the add button. Now we're going to get a pop-up. Next function we're going to click is the add ticket because we're adding and creating a new ticket. We're going to click add ticket. That brings us to an input screen. So your description at the top, these are going to be radio buttons. We want to select overtime, we click overtime. If this is patchwork, we go ahead and select patchwork. This is not going to choose, it's not going to change any of the dollar amounts. This is strictly just a label that's going to go on the change order. So if you're doing new work, keep it for new work. If you're doing patchwork, select patchwork. If this was rework, you could click rework. For location, location's optional, but what I recommend is absolutely using this section. So maybe this was in the conference room, and maybe we were doing patchwork. This is the Southwest conference room. And lastly, you have additional notes. Now, there's a few things to notice when you're inputting text and kind of with your keyboard. You're never going to run into a scenario where your keyboard is covering up what you're writing. So if I flip my finger up and kind of scroll up on this, I now see my additional notes section. So maybe this was for John's request. And notice how to collapse the keyboard, if I click into my scope of work here, if I hit in any of this white space here that's not a text box, what that does is it drops down the keyboard. So that's how you can get in and out of your text fields. So I've got my location, I'm in the conference room, the Southwest room. Scope of work, we're doing some patchwork. Painting, let's do painting patchwork. And I'm going to go ahead and click continue. So once I'm happy with this information here, I'll click continue. That's going to bring me to our summary. So the summary screen here, this is what I would recommend showing to the general contractor, because what you want to do is after this is done, you want to get him to sign this. Basically, we're asking him, hey, Mr. GC, please sign off on the scope of work. The scope of work is what? We're doing patchwork, we're painting in the conference room, the Southwest location, and this is per John's request. If there's anything that needs to be edited here, we can click the edit button. Brings us back to our input screen. So maybe we want to actually change this to painting patchwork. You can also use the microphone on the bottom right to speak into the phone, and it will type out whatever you've spoken into there. So we'll hit continue again. We'll click create and get authorization. That's going to bring us to our authorization screen. Two thoughts. If the general contractor is not able to sign off on this, what you'll do is you'll click authorize later. That's going to create a ticket. However, what we want to do is we really want to try to get the signature as soon as possible. This is the signature that's approving us to do that scope of work. So what you'll do is at the top you have a drop down. We're selecting a user, and I'm going to select Mike. And Mike, I know since he's my only authorized signer, he's the only individual who can approve additional work for this project. So we'll click done. If you don't click done, it's not going to save Mike's name. We're going to go ahead and we're going to give the phone to Mike. Mike's actually going to sign off on this, and then Mike's going to click I agree to the terms and conditions. Depending on how zoomed in your phone is, you might need to actually scroll up a little bit in order to expose the agree to terms and conditions. But if one of these three are missing, you're not going to be able to click authorize now. So you have to make sure you've got the name, the signature, agree to terms and conditions, and when we hit authorize now, It's going to let us know that we've successfully created ticket number 3. We'll click OK. And that brings us into our ticket homepage. So we have 0 hours, 0 pieces of material, 0 photos, but we did get this authorized on 5/6/2020.